One I wanted to bury forever. But sometimes the truth needs to be spoken. Not to make excuses, but to serve as a wake-up call for everyone. Life isn't always straightforward. There are moments when we get caught up in temptations, unaware that we are standing on the edge of making a mistake. The story I'm sharing today isn't about a hero, but about a man who stumbled in his own marriage, thinking he could handle the temptations that came his way. This is my story, a confession, and above all, a tough lesson about honesty and self-control. Make sure to subscribe to my channel so I can continue bringing you more fascinating, true stories like this one. And don't forget to watch this video till the end, because this story is going to be incredibly interesting. I'm Thomas, 27 years old, born and raised in a small town in Australia. My family was not wealthy. My parents worked hard to make ends meet. Because of our financial situation, I wasn't able to finish school and had to drop out to help support my family. From a young age, I realized I had few options. My education was out of reach, and I never blamed anyone for that. Life showed me that it was my responsibility to help my parents after dropping out of school. I began working at a small garage in town. At first, I was just an assistant cleaning, organizing tools, and helping the main mechanic. Over time, I picked up basic skills like changing oil, checking tires, and repairing engines. The work was tough, but it helped me grow. And slowly, I became more skilled. Even though the pay wasn't high, it was enough to support my family. I felt proud of my work, and customers began to trust me more. The garage wasn't just a job. It was where I grew up, learned, and built my career from scratch. Facing challenges every day, I realized I was on the right path. In early 2013, when I was 27, I married Victoria, my beautiful and talented wife. She's a lawyer. A year younger than me and very intelligent and charming. We met through a mutual friend. And from the moment we met, I was drawn to her confidence and strong personality. At first, we started as friends, but over time, our feelings for each other grew. Victoria has a deep perspective on life, and every time I'm with her, I feel understood even though we came from different backgrounds. She came from a wealthy family, and I grew up in a humble, ordinary life. It never mattered to either of us. We respected and understood those differences. Throughout our time together, Victoria always supported me, not only as a lover but as a companion, always listening and sharing. Together, we faced challenges, and it was that bond that made me realize she was the woman I wanted to spend my life with. After dating for a while, I knew I had found my true partner. With love and trust, we decided to get married. Victoria's family was very wealthy. Unlike my own, her parents were successful business people who expected their daughter to marry someone who was equally successful. I knew her family wasn't happy with me at first, but Victoria fought for our relationship. Her love made me feel reassured, though I was sometimes self-conscious about the difference between our families. After we got married, because my family couldn't support me financially, I agreed to live with Victoria's family. At first, I was hesitant because I feared the pressure of living with her family. But Victoria encouraged me. She told me that as long as we loved and respected each other, everything would be fine. So I agreed, and we began our married life in her family's large house. However, the differences between our families led to challenges. I hadn't expected. I tried my best to fulfill my role as a husband, but at times I felt lost in a house that wasn't mine, where everything felt strange. Our married life was happy at first. Victoria was a thoughtful, intelligent wife who made me feel loved and respected. In the early months after our wedding, everything went smoothly. We spent time together, had dinners, and shared stories about our work and life. Though I was a son-in-law, Victoria made me feel that things weren't as difficult as I feared. But that period didn't last long. Victoria, being a successful lawyer, had more and more work to do. She was often sent on business trips, sometimes for a few days, sometimes for an entire week. The house started to feel emptier as the laughter and conversation faded. Her parents were also often busy with their business, so the house felt even more deserted. The only people left in the house were me and Victoria's younger sister, Lily, an energetic, young, and beautiful girl. Although I initially saw her as just a younger sister, Over time, I started to notice how she would observe me. She'd often ask me about life and about Victoria, and while the questions seemed innocent, I could feel there was something strange behind them. When Victoria was away, I often felt incredibly lonely. The house was big and quiet. The smallest sounds felt amplified, making me feel lost. Sometimes I sat on the couch staring into space, wondering where this marriage was heading. As Victoria's work took more of her time, I loved her, but loneliness began to eat at me. During those moments, Lily's attention became more noticeable and it became harder to resist. She started appearing more often wearing revealing clothes, as if she were trying to grab my attention. At first, I told myself it was just a coincidence, but after several times, I realized she was doing it intentionally. I tried to avoid thinking the wrong way, but the emptiness and loneliness kept growing, and I realized I was standing on the edge of making a dangerous mistake. From the moment I stepped into the house, I noticed Lily Young, beautiful with sharp eyes. At first, I didn't pay much attention because to me, she was just my sister-in-law, a family member I didn't think about in any other way. I knew I was tall and strong, which probably caught her attention. But I never let those thoughts go further. In the first few months of living at Victoria's house, everything was normal. I spent most of my time at the garage, came home late, and only had brief interactions with Lily. But as Victoria's business trips became more frequent, things started to change. The more Victoria was gone, the more I felt Lily's presence. It wasn't just because we were in the same house. Her behavior began to shift. She no longer kept her distance, but started wearing thin, revealing clothes whenever we were home alone. At first, I tried to convince myself it was just a personal habit. Nothing strange, but over time, it became obvious. She wore tank tops and nightgowns that barely covered her body. Every time she passed me, her eyes would linger on me as if challenging me. At that point, I reminded myself that she was just my sister-in-law, and that Victoria was still the one I loved. But deep inside, I couldn't ignore the attraction. Lily's presence in Victoria's absence became like an irresistible temptation. I couldn't deny that I was paying attention to her every move, every gesture. The battle between loyalty to Victoria and the temptation became stronger. I knew I was standing at a dangerous point, where one wrong decision would change everything. One evening in July 2013, things took a turn faster than I could have ever imagined. It was a normal day, but looking back, it marked the beginning of my downfall. Victoria was away on another business trip, and I had grown used to being home alone. My in-laws weren't around, and it was just Lily and me in that large, quiet house. We had dinner together. Nothing unusual, just regular conversation. Questions about work and a few casual comments. But there was a strange feeling building inside me, a hidden tension I tried to ignore. After dinner, I went to the bathroom to relax, hoping a quick shower would clear my mind. I closed the door behind me, but forgot to lock it because I was so tired. I stripped down to take a shower, not thinking about anything else. Suddenly, I heard the door creak open slightly. When I looked up, I saw Lily standing there naked. She stepped into the bathroom, her fair skin glowing under the light, and her eyes were filled with boldness and provocation. She walked toward me undeterred by the awkwardness of the situation. I froze, my mind racing. What are you doing?" I stammered, trying to stay calm, but my voice was shaky. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she took another step toward me. "Do you want to know what my body tastes like?" she asked in a soft, seductive voice. I stood there frozen, unsure of how to react. My mind told me to turn away, to push her away, but my body betrayed me. I couldn't look away. My heart raced. My breath quickened, and I knew I was standing on the brink of something irreversible. "Get out, you can't do this," I tried to say, but my voice lacked conviction. She kept coming closer until she was only a foot away. The light in the bathroom made everything too clear, too tempting to ignore. I felt myself losing control, caught in a whirlwind of lust and weakness. The bathroom door closed behind her with a soft click, sealing my fate despite the fear and guilt inside me. I couldn't resist. My instincts took over. We went too far, and I knew there was no turning back. Afterward, guilt consumed me. I stood in the steamy bathroom, numb, unable to believe what I had done. Lily looked at me with a satisfied smile, as if what had happened was just a game. A small victory for her, but to me, it was a betrayal. I had betrayed Victoria, my wife who loved and trusted me. I had betrayed the very values I had always believed in. My heart was filled with regret and self-loathing, but what had happened could not be undone. I quietly walked out of the bathroom, not daring to meet Lily's eyes. The house was eerily quiet, with only the sound of my footsteps echoing in the long hallway. I quickly went back to my room, got dressed, but the weight of guilt still clung to me, refusing to leave. When Victoria's parents and she returned from their work, I acted normal, pretending that nothing had happened. We had dinner together, talked about our days, and everything appeared calm on the outside. But inside I was torn apart, overwhelmed by guilt and regret. Lily seemed different. She acted like nothing had happened, laughing and talking naturally with Victoria and her parents. But whenever she glanced at me, it felt like she was reminding me of the mistake I had made, making my heart grow heavier with each passing moment. Every night as I lay next to Victoria, I couldn't sleep. The images of what happened replayed in my mind over and over again. I wanted to confess, to tell Victoria everything, but the fear of losing everything kept me silent. I knew if I spoke, our marriage would be over and I would lose everything I had. So I kept quiet, and Lily did the same. Days turned into weeks, and the guilt I felt grew stronger. Like a wound that wouldn't heal, I felt like I was living a lie. On the outside, I was a model, husband and son-in-law, but on the inside, I was a traitor filled with guilt and self-loathing. I didn't know how much longer I could endure this feeling. But I knew things would never be the same again. The guilt had eaten into me, and I could no longer look at myself without feeling ashamed. Every time I looked in the mirror, I saw a man I no longer recognized. I want to share a message with everyone, especially those who are facing or have faced temptations in their lives. Temptations often come when you least expect them. At times when you are vulnerable, lonely, or off balance, they can drag you into a spiral of weakness, where you lose control of yourself in an instant. The most important thing is to remain calm and composed when temptation strikes. Understand that a moment of weakness can affect not only the present, but also the future, and it can destroy the most precious things in your life: family, love, and self-respect. I have been there, and I know that the feelings of guilt and regret are not easy to shake off. Remember, self-control is not just a responsibility to others, but also responsibility to yourself. Don't let a moment of weakness lead you into a situation you'll regret for the rest of your life. The true value of a person lies in their ability to know right from wrong and when to stop before things go too far. Never trade your happiness, family, and self-respect for a fleeting moment of pleasure. Once you cross that line, there's no turning back. If I could go back in time, I would control myself better, so I wouldn't have to live with the torment and regret that I feel now. Don't let yourself face the pain that I'm going through.